everyone. Welcome to this week's Karma Cards. I'm Therese Tucker, your host, and we finally made it through March. We're on the other side. Today is April 2nd when I'm recording this message, and it means we survived March Madness. And the good news is that coming up here, we have one of our retrogrades moving direct, and that's Mercury on April 7th. Will move direct, followed by Venus moving direct on April 12th. So we have a little bit more to go. And of course, once the planet moves direct, we still have to deal with its shadow period. So it's sort of a wrapping up period where we're just tying up any loose ends. But things should start to feel like they flow a little better as we move through April. So energy-wise, we're kind of dealing with the usual subjects. We've got a lot of solar energy that's coming in, creating a lot of ascension symptoms. A lot of people feel tired. By the way, I definitely want you to check out the latest episode of my Modern Mystic Soul podcast when it comes out. I believe it launches April 8th. Comes out on April 8th, which is the channeling that we received from the new moon solar eclipse spirit circle. And they talk about that energy directly, why we're so tired, what's going on, and how we can help ourselves. And they talked about being ready. I don't want to spoil it for you because that was kind of one of the big moments in the channeling, but they talked about being ready. And at the Spirit Circle, when we got to the psychic Q&A session, people were asking the cards, they were asking their team, what do I need to do to be ready to go through this ascension energy? And people were getting personal answers about how they could prepare themselves. And a lot of times a lot of it was hinging on detachment. And that brings me to the message from the team this week, because I also asked the question, what do I need to do to be ready? And they talked about detachment with myself as well. And when I asked them today, what's the message you'd like me to share with Karma Cards, with my audience through Karma Cards? And they gave me the same exact message they gave me at the Spirit Circle. So I'm going to share that here with you. Now, a lot of times, at least when I think about detachment, I think about the things that I already have that I might be attached to, whether it's my car or my home or my family, the money I have, stuff like that, the job I do. Those are the things that I usually think about when I think about how I might be attached. And for some people, that is where they need to focus, is releasing attachment to these things. And oftentimes when you're doing spiritual work, there's talk about detachment. I think that it's maybe a complex topic to talk about, but I'm going to try and summarize here. There's more to say about detachment than what I'm about to say, but this is something for us to start thinking about. Getting attached to things usually signifies that you believe that somehow you could lose it, right? If I don't hold on to this, that somehow it could be somehow taken away or lost, or I lose something if it goes somewhere. And so we focus on attaching ourselves to it so we feel more secure. So really, attachment is about trying to create a feeling of security, where detachment is not about losing a sense of security, but rather recognizing nothing can be taken from you. And so there's no need to hold on tightly. And so when you think about it in those terms, it makes sense that you would often think about what you already have. But the message that my team gave me to focus on detaching from was the fear of not having something. And that really gives you something to think about when they're like, stop attaching yourself to the fear, specifically the fear of success, like the fear of not being successful, I should say. So not being successful at maybe your mission or what you came here to do, at your job, at relationships, at whatever it is you are striving for success in. Release the fear that you're not going to be successful, which is a really interesting thing to consider, because most of us, I don't think, would think of ourselves as being attached to that fear. But if you go deeper, it might be something that motivates you to do what you do. Like if you're afraid you're going to lose your health, fear of lack of success about being healthy, then you might work really hard to stay healthy because you're ultimately afraid you're going to lose it. Maybe you fear a lack of success in relationship, and so you put a lot of effort into trying to be the best version of yourself so that you'll be acceptable and people will stick around. But that's just another fear that you won't be successful at relationships. So do you see what they're trying to show me and us through extension of this message here? Your motivation might need some work. Like what's motivating you might be your own fear of not getting it rather than focusing on how good it feels to do the thing. And instead of focusing on how good it feels to take care of yourself, you might be focusing on what's going to happen if you don't. Instead of focusing on how good it feels to be in relationship or able to hold the relationship, you might be focusing on your fear of not getting one if you don't. Same with success, right? If you're focusing on you're afraid that you're not going to make it and that's what's motivating you, then you're not focusing on all the incredible work you're doing and everything that you are creating in this world. There's a lot of ways we can have this, I'm afraid I won't be successful, so therefore I'm going to push really hard or strive really hard for the thing that I'm afraid that I won't get. And so the message is simple: to detach from that fear. And it's so interesting because the same day I got that message, I had also seen a little clip of a bigger video about choosing to believe, what if a miracle happens and your life improves? And what I mean by this is the message kind of went like this. Imagine that while you're asleep, a miracle occurs. Meaning you don't have to do anything. A miracle occurs. And when you wake up, your life has improved for the better. So you don't have to know what the miracle is, and you don't even really have to know what the improvement is. You just affirm that. And so it's interesting because since that day, since getting the message about letting go of being afraid of not being successful, I have been doing that practice. It's part of how I'm practicing detachment. Is a miracle occurs in my sleep and I wake up and my life is improved. And it's my job to really acknowledge the improvement rather than focus on the fear that I'm not going to get that improvement, whatever it is. And I have to say, it's a great tool for a mindset shift because already you are pivoting your awareness from what you're afraid isn't working or won't work to what is working and noticing the improvements. You're calibrating your own reticular activating system, which is in charge of your mental conscious filter, to expect to see an improvement. And what happens when you look for something, you create. It's the observer effect. If you're looking for where life is improving, you're going to find it because you're expecting it, and that is projected out from you. And so the idea here is simple. What are you afraid you won't succeed at? Let's just put it out there for yourself. Be willing to look at it. I'm afraid I won't succeed at creating a big impact, or I'm afraid I won't succeed at the career in my life or the mission, or what is it? You fill in the blank. What are you afraid you won't succeed at? Notice if that's driving your behavior to do things, right? It's usually in the area. Your behavior is affected in the area where you believe you won't be successful. And you'll notice that you're working from a place of fear. It's like, I can't not do this. It's like you even have a hard time giving yourself breaks or stepping away because you're so afraid that if you stop, it's really going to just all be lost. And by practicing this detachment, but also planting the seed that miracles are happening and your life is improving, could be in this area, could be your life in general. I've just been letting it be my life in general. My whole life is improving. I don't have to tell it where to improve. I just know that my job is to accept the miracle and look for the improvement. And it's been a very beautiful period of time. And I want to share that with you. I want to gift you that awareness and let you know that if you're hearing this message, then something here is for you. It's to look at where you're holding on to your fear that you won't be successful, and see if you can start detaching from that. And it might be hard. It might be really ingrained in there because you're really needing proof before you'll relax. And that's just, I do it all the time too, but it's not how it works. If we're waiting for proof before we believe, we're doing it backwards. And we might be doing that great somewhere else where we're like, I believe and now I see the proof in some areas of our life, and then other areas of life we're rigidly following it the other direction, where I need proof before I can relax, right? I need to see the money before I can relax. I need to see the clients or the customers before I can relax. I need to see the relationship. I need to see the good health report. I need to see the change before I will relax and believe it. And we're creating through what we believe in, because that is how we are programming ourselves. What we believe to be true about something, we will actually make true about something. And so if you're hearing this message, know that this is a call for you to detach from that pattern and to try something new. Try allowing miracles while you sleep and waking up and believing that life is improving for the better. And with that, let's look at this week's karma cards. Right, if you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team what is the message for this week. And I've got 2 sets of answers, a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and feel what is the guidance you need this week. Are you looking for action related guidance, outcome related guidance, or do you want to choose both? And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for April 2nd through April 9th. And the flavor of this reading, we've got Mercury, which is the planet that's about to go direct. So Mercury is about communicating, connecting, thinking about it, analyzing. In the sign of Pisces, which is about that the bigger part of ourself, our ideals, our dreams, and our belief system. In the 3rd house, which is the house that's ruled by Mercury. And this is how we're going to communicate that or express these thoughts. So this is very much a mind spread that's connected to communication. All right, for those who are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to communicate your dreams by making the right connections. Yeah, so when they're talking about detaching from this fear of not succeeding, we are communicating our dream there. There's something that we want, the thing that we want to succeed at, but we're communicating it all wrong to ourselves and to the universe, and maybe to other people. But this is really about the dialogue that's happening within right now. When we're thinking about, God, this has got to work. If it doesn't work, I don't know if it'll ever be successful, right? I don't know if I'm ever going to get better. I don't know if anyone's ever going to love me. I don't know if we're communicating it wrong. We are focusing on the wrong, we're putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable, right? We need to think about what we want to create without the fear attached to it, because in this scenario, we are thinking about the lack of it, not it being there, and we're not trusting that it'll be there. So we need to communicate it differently to ourselves, which is why the miracle analogy works so well. When I go to sleep, there's a miracle will occur. I'm going to just keep saying it so it helps you get it in. When I go to sleep, I intend a miracle occurs, and when I wake up, my life will have improved for the better. I say it right as I'm falling to sleep. When I wake up, I say it before I open my eyes. While I was sleeping, a miracle occurred, and I'm going to wake up and my life will have improved for the better. That is the right connection. Now, notice how I took out any words that might trigger me into going into fear. I'm not talking about the success I want or the health or the relationship, any of that. I am leaving it kind of open-ended, and this is because I'm trying to train my brain to look for the improvement rather than focusing on the fear or a feeling of lack. Because when we start focusing on what we want, especially if we're still attached to our fear, the fear is going to become part. It feels like it's invited to the party, right? As soon as we start thinking about that thing we want, fear's like, oh, hey, I heard you were thinking about that thing you want. Here I am. You're not going to get it, right? You might not get it. We don't want to invite fear. So by keeping it consistent and general in this case, and I know a lot of times when we're talking manifesting, we're talking about specificity. We're asked to be specific. In this case, we're really practicing detaching from the fear of not getting what we want. So we need to go super general and just be like, it's already done. It's taken care of and things are improved. And all I have to do is acknowledge the improvement. And then it's like we free up the energy again. All right, mental action. Analyze your idealization of the idea in question. And it's true. It's true that some of the things that we are focused on receiving, the thing we want to succeed at, we may have made the bar feel too high. And that's what idealization can do. Our life will be so perfect when fill in the blank. We know we all do this, right? So you can fill in the blank here. My life will be perfect when I start making this much money, when I lose this much weight, when I'm in this relationship, when I get the house, I get the job, I get the whatever, fill in the blank. There's idealization there that life will improve only when that circumstance shows up. So we need to consider why we're doing that to ourselves, because we're robbing ourselves of peace, of joy, of happiness, while in pursuit of this thing that's going to be so life-changing when life can change at any time. It doesn't have to change for the better when this thing appears. But again, we've got to break and detach from that thought process. Physical action at this time, let your mind tell you how to be a part of something overwhelming and get your ideas going. Okay, what I'm getting with let your mind tell you how, this is a tricky one. It's the reticular activator that I was talking about, your RAS, your mental filter. This is what is focused on and programmed by your beliefs predominantly. So if you believe you have to struggle to get what you want, you're going to program that into your mind, right? So being a part of something overwhelming, there's the miracle right there. So we got to program the miracle into the filter to get it going, get out of the attachment, get these ideas going, get the energy flowing again. Something overwhelming is a miracle. You can't control miracles, right? It's an act of God. It's an act of source, whatever you want to call it. It is outside the realm of your control, and therefore it's a miracle because it's just happening for you. In order to activate that, we must start telling ourselves that that's possible. And again, it's just a thought before you go to bed. And the beautiful thing about this thought is there's no harm that comes from it. So if you allow yourself to have the thought and nothing happens, you're not harming yourself. It's not going to boomerang or ricochet on you and cause some kind of disaster. It's either you believe the thought and you start giving it traction, or you don't believe it yet, but you say it anyway, so that you get used to saying it. At some point, right? At some point we start believing it. Isn't it that I think it goes that you need to introduce someone to something to someone 12 times before they start hearing it? It might be that way for your brain. So if you're miracle averse, or you're like, those don't happen, that's fine. Can you let yourself say it anyway till you start to believe it? Because there's nothing that can harm you. It can't be a detriment. It can either be neutral or it can really help. Right, so now let's look at the outcomes for Mercury in Pisces in the third house of communication and expression. All right, spiritual outcome at this time, the awareness of spirituality to ultimately experience your ideas. Again, the message is ultimately about detachment, and we talked about that earlier. It's one of the spiritual principles. In order to move up a level, you need to detach from the level that you're on. I want you to think about it kind of like, I don't know, Mario Brothers, right? Mario, when he's moving up levels, he can't take the castle with him from the first level. He has to let that go and keep going, right? To go to higher and more advanced levels. It's the same with what we're doing. I think that if there's any fear around detachment, then there's a belief in loss. And if there's a belief in loss, then there's an idea of separation. One of the things to understand is that even the material world is really the only thing we could lose, and we're not even losing that because it holds a second state, right? Everything is frequency first, and particles, which is what matter's made from, actually start as frequency. So it has to generate enough energy to condense and solidify into a particle. At its core, it's always frequency. So yes, we might not be able to take everything with us to the next frequency level that's particle based, for example, but doesn't mean it's gone. It's always with you. The frequency is always there. The feeling it emits, the sense that you get from it, always there. You're not separated from any of this. And I think when we start to recognize that there's nothing that can be taken from you because all of it's connected, then you stop being afraid. Detachment is what opens the spiritual doorway here, because while we're holding this level, it's hard to move up to higher and higher levels. And that's one of the things they were talking about was how do we ascend? And part of it is we got to detach from the 3D to move to the 5D. You can't be so concerned about what happens to the 3D to move to the 5D. And it's natural, I think, to be concerned or want to have questions answered. And yet at the same time, if we recognize we lose nothing, nothing's ultimately lost, then it's easy to move. Mental outcome at this time: many thoughts about or from trusting your psychic knowledge of short-term thinking or trips. The psychic knowledge part is the believe it to receive it combo, right? Remember I said that a lot of times we're waiting for proof to relax and then we'll believe, but the psychic combo is believe to receive. Believe to receive. So what it's telling me right now is that you're going to take this in. This is a period where we're going to get a little bit analytical about it, which is fine. It's good. Investigate this. Take it into your heart and run it through. It's like, would it feel better if I could let go of the fear that I won't get this, that it won't be done? Would my life feel better? You might get a yeah. Would it feel better if I affirmed that when I sleep, miracles occur and I wake up to improvements? Yeah, that feels a lot better. It has felt a lot better. Does it mean that if I just do that at night, I don't have any other work to do? No, probably still have to deal with where those thoughts pop up. There's always something that might kind of trigger us back into that, but we're programming ourselves to detach from that fear connected to desire. I'm afraid I won't get what I desire. As we let ourselves do that, as we let ourselves practice this detachment, it starts to feel better and better. And it might, in terms of the short-term thinking and trips, that means one thought at a time, right? So the third house is ruled by Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. Mercury's fast, and in this case, the third house is very local. It's like what's happening in front of you right now. So notice what you're dealing with right now. You don't have to combat every thought, just the one that pops up now. And consider I want to believe. It works if I believe to receive rather than waiting for proof. If you catch yourself waiting for proof to relax or enjoy, just try to flip it. And then invoke the miracles. Physical outcome at this time: many words resulting from the indecision of or about who and what is around you. So we're also products of our environment. And if you have an environment where there are people around you who are also in the I'll wait for proof before I believe, it might feel a little harder to do this. If you are in an environment where people are more pessimistic or skeptical by nature and the idea of a miracle just improving your life isn't floating with them, it just makes it feel like that much more work. One of the things you have to do is give yourself time and space to do this, right? If you want someone to come on board this journey with you right now and do this work with you, you might have a tough time making that happen. And if you're trying to explain it to someone else, you're trying to detach from your fear of not getting what you want. Maybe not everyone's going to understand that. So what I get is like there can be a little interference right now in the process if you're involved. It's like too many cooks in the kitchen is what they're showing me. You got to be a solo cook on this one, because remember, we're still in Mercury retrograde, and a lot of times trying to express an abstract concept is already hard, but trying to do it during a Mercury retrograde is just going to cause headaches for everybody, because it's going to feel like you don't get what I'm saying, and they're going to be like, yeah, because you're not making sense, or vice versa, whichever way it goes. It could be easy to get into a pickle on this one, trying to explain it. The words really aren't there. And that there's a factor in there. If you add too many cooks, it creates too much confusion. So really try this exercise to keep it simple. What are you afraid you're not going to get in this lifetime? I'm sure there's one thing that's just popping up in your head right now. Acknowledge that you have a fear of not getting what you want. Recognize that you're probably waiting for proof to trust that you'll get it, which is backwards. Now you just have to realize, oh, that's just backwards, right? When I believe it, I will receive it. Next is to surrender it, right? This is already mentally bonded. The fear of not getting it and what you want, they're kind of connected together like a link. Because every time you think about getting this thing, the fear just joins the party, right? So go to the miracle space at night before you go to bed tonight. Just say to yourself, while I sleep, I intend a miracle occurs and I wake up and my life is improved for the better. You can say it as many times as you want, and I encourage you to say it as much as you want to. And notice that you're going to start looking for where things are improving. And because you're looking for it, you are believing in it. And when you're believing in it, you're generating it. And when you're generating it, you will create it. And there it is. So with that, I hope this message was helpful to you and it gives you something to work on, detaching and also allowing. And of course, I am sending you so much love. Mwah.